and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
I'm Ann Northrup.
Ann, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm a little tired, but whatever. But I'm doing well, and I just want the audience to know, because you're all sick of my coughing, that not only have I been dealing with the breast cancer, but I've decided, as I've advised you, to get tested. I'm going to a pulmonologist this week to finally do some real investigation of what's going on with my cough. Just want to keep you up to date on all my medical news.
Thank you very much. For someone with all these issues, you're doing very well.
Well, it's not that many issues, but I'm working on it.
And we're not doing very well in this country, but we did, for the LGBTQ community, have two big court wins, wait for it, in Florida and Montana.
They're really exciting. They're great. However, we have the usual list of horrors that Trump is visiting on us, even while he's in the Middle East. That has not stopped his people from doing terrible things. And just as a footnote, because we are your local golf experts, we will explain the error in the analogy between him taking the plane and golf, which he totally screwed up and no one has explained correctly.
Okay. Performers are bowing out of playing the Trump Kennedy Center, and they're being now threatened in their jobs by the gay director of the Kennedy Center.
You wouldn't think he'd have that power, but he is. And Yeshiva University, they told us some months ago they were going to finally allow an LGBTQ group. Well, backsies, they are not. They're taking it back.
Apparently, they elected a new pope since we last saw you, and we will tell you about him and LGBTQ issues.
We will opine about that. And we'll remember Supreme Court Justice David Souter, who died this week.
And I think we should, and then in entertainment news, we have a new documentary on astronaut Sally Ride coming to TV on June 16th. Mark your calendars.
I have already marked my calendar, and I'm just waiting till my TV thing allows me to set my DVR. It's too early. You can only set it like a week or two ahead.
That's right. All right. Well, so we start in Florida.
Okay, you do Florida, I'll do Montana.
Where the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed that their anti-drag law there is likely unconstitutional, so they put an injunction on it, upholding a lower court decision. And, the judge who wrote the decision, said that, and if you're going to restrict free speech, you got to be very specific, and this law is very vague. Now, this was the case of Hamburger Mary's, which is an Orlando restaurant and bar that hosted drag shows, family-friendly ones. Now that, by the way, Hamburger Mary's did close its Orlando location in June, and it's looking to reopen in Kissimmee.
Kissimmee?
Yeah. Well, I had a friend who lived there, and he used to say it the other way, but all right.
That's him. But the trial is continuing on that. This is just a temporary restraining order on the law barring drag performances. Well, in Montana, a more solid decision. The court in Montana has struck down the state law forbidding care for trans youth. The judge very firmly and adamantly said that the law passed by the Montana legislature violates the constitutional rights of both the trans youth and the doctors.
And Montana has a state constitution that is very protective of its residents.
Well, that's common in the Mountain West. A lot more independence and liberty-minded in the Mountain West when it was settled by white people as opposed to the people who were already there. They often wrote laws that were You know, they didn't like the federal government. They were out there on their own.
The frontier spirit.
Yes.
You used to live in Colorado.
I did. I went to high school there, and one of my high school friends lives in Montana. So I was corresponding with her today about this, and I sent her the news report I had on this decision. She said, "Thank you. It hasn't hit the Billings Gazette yet." I wonder if they'll tell their residents.
The mayor of Billings is a very nice guy, married to one of my college classmates, and very liberal.
See, we're both connected to Montana.
Okay.
All right, shall we start going through the Trump stuff?
Yes. Well, I do want to mention, I don't want to get too far ahead, but yeah, no, let's. No, I had a couple of other stories, but I mean, I think I think we have to emphasize what the House is doing to us. Right
terrible,
now,
yeah.
Which is that, I mean, the Ways and Means Committee, they added alarming language to first of all, they're cutting Medicaid like crazy, but they added alarming language to the bill that they're passing that empowers the Secretary of the Treasury to give him broad discretion, and he's a gay guy, to brand any nonprofit in the United States as a terrorist supporting organization and to strip it of tax-exempt status. They could come after all of our groups, more about which later.
Now, this is Trump's big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
And only needs a majority vote in the House and Senate?
Yes.
So I know there are some senators who don't like things in the bill.
Even Josh Hawley hates the Medicaid cuts.
Yeah, and
from
Rand
Missouri.
Paul is upset. But the question is, will there be enough Republicans with the guts to stand up to Trump and stop this bill?
Because you take your life into your own hands if you do.
Yeah, as we have seen.
And I guess it's also time to mention the thing that Trump did in court this past week, which is to say that, in banning a law firm, I think it's called Sussman something.
Godfrey, I think.
Godfrey. In banning the law firm, they went to court and said, this firm supports people who are undermining the United States, and they mention gay and lesbian, how do you say it now? Gay and lesbian advocates and defenders.
Wait, I've got it here. GLBTQ legal advocates and defenders. Well, the thing is, Trump put out an executive order that says that Sussman Godfrey, as a law firm, cannot have security clearances or access to federal buildings. Right. This is what he's doing to the law firms. You wonder how he can punish an independent law firm, and the answer is he can deny them access to things that they would normally have, and that's federal information and security clearances. But his first reason was because they were representing Dominion voting systems.
Well, did he say that, or is that just the reason that he went after them?
No, I think he said that because he accused them of interfering with election laws. Yes. Yes, they won on behalf of Dominion, which had been accused of screwing around with the 2020 election.
It was case Fox lost.
Yes.
Paid all that money.
Yes, and so that was his ostensible reason. But the other reason is that they have probably made a contribution, because law firms often make contributions to the nonprofit law firms. They gave money to GLAAD, the GLBTQ legal advocates and defenders.
A group that previously sued the federal government to enjoin the Department of Defense policy based on radical theory of gender ideology. So they just want to write all of us who believe in these things. I mean, we have tax-exempt status through Fractured Atlas. They can start going through us. We certainly advocate for these things.
Well, yes, your donations could become non-tax deductible, but we don't picture that. We're small fry.
They are tax deductible now.
Yes.
Go to gayusatv.org while the getting is good.
Yes. While those tax deductions are good. But the point is, anyone who disagrees with him, anyone in any venue who disagrees with him,
especially the Maine governor,
is someone to be destroyed.
Yes, destroyed.
There's no give and take in Trump's America. There's no, you won this one, we won that one, we can negotiate, none of that. It's, my way or the highway, and the highway is the highway to oblivion.
Well, a legal expert writing about this said to call a federal civil rights lawsuit, which is, an effort to undermine the government, requires adopting the premise that it's a threat to make sure the government isn't doing anything illegal.
Meanwhile, our people at GLAAD had won cases against the Department of Defense for trying to get rid of trans service members, and then the Supreme Court stepped in and said, nope, they're allowed to do whatever they want because they are the Defense Department and they live under different rules. Well, now the new statement from the Defense Department is that trans service members must identify themselves voluntarily by June 6th and opt out, basically resign from the military, reservists by July 7th, and then the Defense Department will go through the medical records of every member of the services to find the ones who have not self-identified.
So, the trans service members, the group is called Sparta Pride. They're saying there's no guarantee to access your pension or severance or an honorable discharge if you do this. This is not voluntary. This is a decision folks are coming to under duress. There are 1,000 troops that would be serving if conditions were not created to force them into being forced out.
And a lot more who are in there supposedly.
And they're also rolling back all gender-affirming care. And I assume for veterans as well.
Yes, I would assume so. And on what grounds? You wonder whether they'll get honorable discharges. They've been branded liars.
Yes.
And working against the federal government. So how are they going to get an honorable discharge?
And I just want to say that they're almost not. Trump is almost not even going after T anymore. We'll talk about another case where they even dropped the T because it doesn't exist anymore as far as they're concerned. But I'll get to that.
Well,
because I can't find it
meanwhile,
right here.
Look through your notes. Meanwhile, he's going to have the military out parading on June 14th, Flag Day, which unfortunately is his birthday. He'll be 79. And he's going to have the military do a parade through D.C. that will portray and honor the military from the beginning in the Revolutionary War through current day. This is going to be some magnificent pageant as he's throwing people out of the military.
Soviet style.
Yeah, that's what he wants. And he saw more of it, and he saw the Arab greeters on horseback surrounding his limousine. Well, I'm sure that gave him an idea.
But you still have a chance to get down to Washington for World Pride in Washington, D.C. And by the way, the ACLU and Gender Liberation Movement are going to unveil a Freedom to Be quilt on the National Mall on May 17th, a 9,000 square foot collection of over 250 quilts made by transgender people and their families. They're going to have all these kind of events around it. We'll link to it in our email.
And there are also plans afoot for a protest demonstration on June 14th.
Good luck with that.
Well, they've secured a spot for it. It's like 2 miles away from the parade.
You're supposed to be within sight and sound of what you're protesting.
The permit application they put in says we're starting like 2 miles away, but eventually we will get to within sight and sound, probably on some hillside looking. So I want to recommend a documentary to you that I saw the other night on PBS. It's a documentary that's a couple years old, but it almost had me in tears and feeling joy because it was about the huge protest marches against Nixon and the Vietnam War in 1969. It's called The Movement and the Madman, and it's available online at pbs.org/American Experience, and we'll put a link or a note in our show note.
To get our emails, go to gayusatv.org and sign up where it says, I want to be on your list.
I was there. I was at least one of those marches, and 500,000 people on the streets and parks and lawns of Washington, D.C., Every great musician performing all the protest songs. It was so fantastic. And all of this is about how critical mass of people with peaceful demonstration can change the government. And I just found it stunning. It brought back so many memories for me, and I thought it was a great way to portray the need and the efficacy of mass demonstrations, which we desperately need now.
Well, and I'm not trying to dampen enthusiasm for Democrats as we try to take back the Congress, but the Democratic National Committee has dumped gun violence activist, or they're dumping David Hogg, and Pennsylvania State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, who were elected to vice chair positions to the committee. Now, they're saying, oh, we didn't really follow procedures.
Well, it's because they're trying to do what Trump does, which is get candidates to go against incumbents who they think are not progressive enough.
Which is a good idea.
Well, yeah, but you can see why the Democratic National Committee does not want people who want to do that in their leadership.
I thought we were a big tent. Man, defending the status quo. Okay.
Well,
all right.
Of course.
All right for you.
All right. So let's do Rick Grinnell.
Okay, I've done that. Let's go to Grinnell. This is a hell of a story.
Well, the Kennedy Center is now in the hands of Rick Grinnell there on the right with his fearless leader. And they have kicked out every World Pride production. They have condemned and ejected any performer with anything resembling anti-Trump opinions. And now he says that the people, they're supposed to perform Les Miserables at the Kennedy Center.
Big fundraiser.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Congress is putting in a huge amount of money for the Kennedy Center as they cut the National Endowment for the Arts.
Yeah. So a lot of the performers in this production of Les Miserables have
10% of them.
I hope that grows.
Oh, excuse me, at least 10 cast members. That might be many more.
I don't know. It's a pretty big cast, but they are refusing to perform. And Grinnell has called them vapid and intolerant.
Anybody who isn't professional enough to perform for all patrons of all backgrounds, regardless of political affiliation, won't be welcome. Fine, nobody wants to go there. But then he says, we think it would be important to out those vapid and intolerant artists to ensure producers know who they shouldn't hire and that the public knows so that they won't watch them. I mean, this is the blacklist.
He says all political stripes should be able to sit together. This is the man who has canceled all the World Pride productions, is getting rid of all performers who are progressive. The hypocrisy, the obliviousness to what they're saying is just unbelievable.
So Liza Minnelli and Michael Feinstein wrote this long post together about all the gay artists that they're essentially excluding, everybody from Freddie Mercury and Billie Holiday to, well, I was going to say Leonard Bernstein, but apparently his kids are letting his stuff be performed there. But, think about it. But I have to, there's a huge list of these people, and one of them is Stephen Sondheim. They mention some of his great songs, Send in the Clowns. Then they say, and a list of iconic shows probably unknown to the censors.
Whoa, what a diss.
Love Liza.
So vicious, Liza.
Oh, and Michael Feinstein says, don't forget to ban my upcoming show, The Gay American Songbook. And my actor friend Alan Fitzpatrick says, is Equity going to take a public stand about this and protect our members? And Tom Viola, who used to be at Broadway Care, says Equity forbade its members to play Washington's National Theater from 1948 until they allowed for integration of audiences in the Capitol.
They probably didn't have a megalomaniac as president who was threatening them at the time.
And then Dead Outlaw, which is a huge hit on Broadway, canceled their performance at the Library of Congress to protest the firing of the librarian, the black woman who was fired from the library there. The Library of Congress. It's the Library of Congress. I don't understand how Trump has any jurisdiction over this.
Well, he doesn't, and Congress is talking about fighting back on this.
Yeah, Congress?
Yes.
Congress fighting back? Wait a minute.
Well, this may be one reason. Carolyn Levitt, the Trump spokeswoman, says, no, he has to go after the Library of Congress because you can't have kids being given bad books. They don't lend books.
That's right. She's treating it like she's like from Moms for Liberty or something, and this is a lending library.
It is not.
It's every book. Mein Kampf and gay books.
All right, back to the budget cuts. So they're cutting Medicaid. Did they put in the bar for treatment for trans youth?
I don't.
Probably. They're cutting food assistance to poor people. They're barring
SNAP.
and barring any funding of Planned Parenthood, of course.
Now all this has to go through the Senate.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Oh, and this whole thing about drug prices, his latest executive order, has no force at all. Huh. No, it's an empty performance. He's not doing a thing about cutting drug prices.
Well, the pharmaceutical industry is very rich, but I don't think they can match what the Saudis are giving him.
Well, the Saudis are giving him that plane. It's time for a golf break in this show.
Okay.
So Trump says, what do you mean not accept the plane? What are you, crazy? Why? What am I going to say? No, when someone offers me a $400 million plane for free? Even Sam Snead, the great golfer, said if someone gives you a putt, you take it.
And if you then putt it, that your partner is going to be very mad at you. But of course, as we know, once a putt is given in a match, that's it. You can do anything you want to it. You can knock it off the green down the fairway if you want.
Also, giving putts and accepting that gift, if he wants to call it that, is part of the game. That is a legal transaction in golf.
In match play.
Yes, in match play. You can't do it in stroke play, of course. But Trump is acting like being given a $400 million plane is similarly legal, when the whole point is it's not.
Under the emoluments clause. Now, even some Republicans are speaking up about that, but is it enough?
Probably not.
Oh, I think that's one he may lose.
A little footnote from the Department of Justice this week. They are not. They're no longer designating hate crimes against LGBTQ people.
Right.
They will not count them. They will not keep track of them. We will have no information on hate crimes.
Right. Not just transgender people who they really hate, but LGBTQ people, gay people who include the Treasury Secretary.
And then the lovely picture of the white South Afrikaners being given not only asylum, but instant citizenship in the United States.
So I was reading some columnist this morning who says, wait till they get here and they find out they got no health care and they got no this and it's expense and it's, wait till they find out what life in the United States is becoming. They'll be begging to go back.
Well, maybe, but the utter racism of that is just mind-blowing.
Insane. And the other thing that's happening, of course, we've told you about how they're banning books in the service academy libraries and going after the curricula at these places. So
everywhere.
So instructors are leaving. They're leaving to go to greener pastures.
Where are the greener pastures?
Well,
they're going after the curricula at Ivy League colleges.
You're always welcome here at Gay USA until we get stopped.
Maybe we will get Manhattan Neighborhood Network to do online teaching by these
we will.
professors.
But the other thing that's happening, with all these research scientists being, accessed by DOGE, they're leaving the country. There's a brain drain going on. The other countries say, this is a great opportunity.
Yep.
You went to the United States because it was going to be so good and you had these nice labs and everything. Now you haven't got anything. Come over here. We'll make all the money.
They're cutting off research projects in the middle of the study. They're just saying, go, no more of this research. No cancer research, no AIDS research, no nothing, out the door.
I had somebody say that, seriously, they're leaving this country because when you cut back on all this, health stuff, you end up having lettuce that is going to infect you and you're going to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
E. coli
E.
infections.
coli, yes.
That is the reason she is saying, I don't think it's safe here anymore, and I'm leaving.
Well, look, we have an HHS secretary who's going swimming in the polluted creek.
Well, I'm not.
Come on.
I could say I hope it was very polluted, but he had his grandkids with him.
You bet.
They're innocent.
They certainly
Why
are.
isn't somebody bringing child abuse charges against him for bringing grandchildren
They're
into a
waiting
polluted
for the
lake?
infection to take hold.
All right, and this is another, these are huge things.
Yep.
The president ordered federal agencies to abandon the use of the legal tool of, in civil rights cases, of what's called disparate impact. It's not that complicated. You're suing a firm because they're discriminating, and one of the ways you prove that they discriminated against is because you look around at the firm and you say, there are no black people here. That's considered disparate impact. That's evidence that the firm is discriminatory, and that is now banned under the
Trump administration, if you have an integrated workforce, that is evidence of illegal DEI.
Must be, because only whites are qualified to do things. I'm being ironic or whatever.
Yes.
But disparate impact was established by the Supreme Court in 1971. And then I hear John Roberts say, we have to restore the rule of law. Too late! You got rid of it.
Meanwhile, we have a new interim U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia. They got rid of one guy because
Ed Martin.
Because he was a monster.
Oh, no, he's being given Deputy Attorney General or something.
He's still a monster.
Yeah.
So instead, we get Jeanine Pirro. And isn't that a good picture of Jeanine Pirro?
That's the one The Advocate ran.
She is Saturday Night Live did a skit this week that was all about her consuming a bottle of wine every day.
Yes.
I hadn't so much heard about that, but in fact,
no.
She's
been drunk on the show many times.
Yeah, and including one night when she was 15 minutes late for doing her own Fox show and came in drunk.
Well, Hegseth too.
We haven't done that.
Hegseth too.
Yeah,
we do not drink before this show.
I don't drink at all.
You don't drink at all, and sometimes
this water is my entire liquid
and sometimes
consumption.
After the show, I might need just a little bit to take the edge off the day. Just that much.
Well, Jeanine Pirro is your new interim U.S. attorney.
Now, she used to be sort of a log cabin Republican. She went to Pride Parades.
Yes.
She ran for U.S. Senate from New York.
She was the U.S. attorney for Westchester.
Her big thing was always, shooting fish in a barrel, going after people who downloaded child porn.
And her husband got convicted of something.
Yes, he got locked up. But she was given the Spirit of Lincoln Award from Log Cabin.
Yeah.
But she was taken off the air by Fox after the 2020 election because she was so full of conspiracy-filled rants that were getting them in trouble.
Yeah, she did get worse and worse and worse.
But
all right.
By the way, Ed Martin, who couldn't get the job, he's being given the job of investigating the weaponization of government under the Biden regime. That's the title of the office.
They're chutzpah. They have redefined chutzpah in the Trump administration. It used to be someone who killed their parents and then asked for mercy as an orphan.
Yeah.
They have expanded that definition. I think we should talk about a couple of good legal stories.
We're not done with all the Trump stuff. But,
go ahead.
Well, 7 Democratic senators have written to Robert Kennedy saying you got to restore the 988 suicide line that specializes in LGBTQ youth services. Congress had increased the funding for it from $7 million to $33 million in 2024. And then
I wanted to talk a little about the EEOC administrative judge,
let's
Karen
talk.
Ortiz.
Yes.
She has been put on leave and threatened with firing because she had the temerity to tell the acting chairwoman of the EEOC, a Trump appointee, and copying this note to 1,000 of her colleagues, that the chairwoman should resign over Trump's illegal order to stop protecting trans people.
She was saying, I'm going to follow the law. You're not.
So you should resign, but she is now on leave and being threatened with firing.
She says they're trumped up charges. I stand behind my actions, which support the rule of law and the trans community, she said specifically.
Should we talk about David Souter for a minute?
Sure, David Souter.
David Souter was a member of the Supreme Court appointed by
George H.W. Bush, the father.
Yes, in his 4-year term. He quit in 1990, I think he was appointed, and he was expected to be a good Republican conservative.
Wow. He was appointed because they had trouble with people like Bork and all those people. It was becoming a contentious process.
Yes.
So they picked him because he had no paper trail. And he was suggested by people in New Hampshire who knew him and liked him, and they got him on the court. Even though in his hearing, he was saying things that were reasonable. And it was making Republicans nervous. And when he got on the court, he sort of joined the liberal bloc.
He
I
did.
mean, when I say the liberal bloc, I mean the constitutional bloc. Yeah. I mean, he was hardly a very liberal person.
No, but he was regarded as an ascetic because he mowed his own lawn and because he wanted to stay in his home in New Hampshire. He quit the court after 19 years because he was disgusted by the Bush v. Gore decision of when George W. Bush beat Al Gore because they screwed up the Florida vote.
He was disgusted, but that was 2000. He didn't quit until 2009 when we elected a Democrat, a guy named Barack Obama, so that Barack could replace him.
He gave a speech or wrote something, I think after he was off the court more recently, about how the worst problem in this country is the lack of civic knowledge, that the population has become so ignorant of how a country should run.
And how it works, how the system works. And, it's like people don't know that we have 3 branches of government and that they're equal to each other and all this stuff. They don't know it.
No, because it's evident either it's not taught in schools or they're going to the wrong schools or they are not paying attention. But he said that is the greatest danger to democracy in the United States, is that level of ignorance. And I couldn't agree more with him. He was replaced by Sotomayor, appointed by Obama.
Pat Robertson, the televangelist, a horrible guy, was very upset that he upheld abortion rights and said Souter was a disaster and insinuated that he was gay.
There were those rumors, but nothing was ever.
We don't know.
He never married. He moved into his childhood home.
I never married
with
either.
his mother. You have documented
I do.
relationships. He did not.
He said his opinions were shaped by long walks and reflections and suggesting an empathy for those long written out of constitutional protection.
Well,
and that meant,
isn't it Elon Musk who said that empathy is the biggest problem in the United States?
Yes. And as long as you're talking about people we lost, we also lost Dr. Arnold Grossman, a friend of ours. Yeah. He served on the Hetrick Martin Institute Board of Directors for a long time. And he also picked up the mantle of studying LGBTQ issues, doing academic studies of their mental health. He contributed an awful lot. He was a professor at NYU and a great guy.
He was. All right, let's go to other parts of the United States, unless you have more you want to do from the Trump administration.
Well, by the way, nearly half of transgender people surveyed have either moved or are considering moving to more trans-affirming places, according to the Williams Institute.
Within the United States?
Yes. Well, yes. Some are leaving altogether.
Go to Montana.
Montana. Oh, okay.
By
the way, this survey was conducted in December 2024.
Yes.
Before Trump even got in office. He was elected.
Well, Colorado is another good place to be. The legislature there has passed a bill increasing protections for trans people, making misgendering and dead naming people illegal in some instances, making discrimination-free choice of school clothes legal. You can designate your gender for IDs without a court order.
A footnote on Secretary Hegseth. His pastor is a guy named Joshua Hames of the Pilgrim Hill Reform Fellowship out of Nashville that claim Jesus can cure sodomites and that 100% of men who seek counseling for the perversion of homosexuality have suffered horrific abuse as a gay man as children. This is his pastor.
Well, it's a lot of pastors in this country.
Well, we'll get to the Pope later.
Well, let's go to Yeshiva University here in New York City, which had been fighting for years with its LGBTQ student group, which wanted recognition and sanction on the campus, and Yeshiva had consistently denied them that, saying that homosexuality was an evil and against God or whatever. And then, to our surprise, a few months ago, Yeshiva said, you know what, it's okay, you can have the group. And there
was a big lawsuit about this.
Yes.
And they were losing.
Yeah. And the students went, hallelujah, and set up the club. And now, a few months later, Yeshiva University is saying, wait a minute, we didn't mean that. We meant that you could do it if you followed our rules, which is no sex and no affirmation of homosexuality.
So the club, which is called Hareni, is saying they're going to continue to meet, and that's what you should do. You should continue to meet. The hell with the university. Orthodox Judaism prohibits homosexual relations.
But there are support groups of Orthodox Jews that operate all over. And, Sandy Dubowski's been making films about this for some years.
But I think the group was naive about what the administration would tolerate.
Hopeful.
The Voice of America, which is now run by that wacko right-winger, Carrie Lake, I use the words advisedly, is being turned over.
I think you use them literally.
Is being turned over to One America News, the fringe right propaganda network that was birthed in the swamps of Trumpism.
There's just no end to this.
One America News.
Yeah.
This will be now the voice that goes out around the world in terms of American propaganda.
People around the world.
And before it was a news organization. I mean, I don't think it took to
the Voice of America, not One America News.
Right.
They prided themselves on their their
balance.
Yes, their honesty about all sides being represented like a regular
which
news
you're not
organization.
going to get in Russia.
Well, you may not get it at news networks here, but you'll get it a lot less on OAN.
But you do get it here at Gay USA.
We try.
We try to be fair, by the way, to all sides. The National Park Service is cutting $26 million. They're getting a $26 million cut, and they're going after grants listed as DEI, including for the Historical Society of Colorado, which was working on getting a possible gay and lesbian transgender history designation there for something. So the Trump administration now lists its reason for canceling the grant as LGBTQ. That's what I mean, but they don't even bother including the T anymore because transgender people don't exist as far as the United States is concerned anymore.
Correct.
There are only two genders, and there is no T.
Well, some places are trying to fight back. We told you last week that the mayor of Salt Lake City had very cleverly redesigned, when told that by the state legislature that only certain flags could be flown by the city, official city flags. Salt Lake's mayor said, fine, we are going to put the official city designation on the various pride flags, and they will become official flags. So here now is the picture of what they've done.
And Idaho, Boise is doing this as well, right?
Yes. So in Utah and Idaho capitals, there is a little fight back. And this weekend we were at Brighton Beach Pride, which is another wonderful center of a little fight back. This is the 9th year of this, the Brighton Beach Pride.
That's stepping off from Coney Island. You can see the parachute jump in the background.
Yeah.
And there's and it was dedicated to LGBTQI immigrants and to transgender people,
particularly trans immigrants. And there's Yelena Goltzman with the bullhorn, who created this parade and still runs it. They have always had this parade full of immigrants from all the Soviet.
There's Randy Wicker, who's Randy's been an activist since 1959, and there he was.
It was wonderful to see him there. But
and he said it's Mental Health Week. We should go after Trump on the mental health issue.
Well, this parade has been for immigrants, specifically from the Russian, Soviet republics and Eastern Europe. But the acknowledgement this year is those people could all be picked up by ICE.
Right.
And so they asked allies to come out and march in the parade, and people did. It was a little smaller this year, but it was energetic and terrific.
And even got me out there all the way to Coney Island, and it was wonderful to be there.
It's great. Everybody should go every year. You get a little stroll on the boardwalk in the sunshine, and
I didn't.
March through the Russian community. It's great.
A victory for gays against guns. They are claiming a victory as FedEx has ended its discount for members of the National Rifle Association, which was an issue that they particularly were pushing.
However, in Salisbury, Maryland, the mayor is paying artists to cover up 3 rainbow crosswalks with neutral designs. Paying them $3,000 to cover up 3 crosswalks.
Isn't there a big rainbow in the Bible? Noah and everything?
And in the sky.
Right. We've been telling you how awful Ken Paxton is. He's the Attorney General of Texas, and he is going to run against Republican Senator John Cornyn next year in the primary, and he's leading over Cornyn 50 to 33%. So, but in that same survey, the guy who lost the Senate race last time, the Democrat Colin Allred, is leading Paxton 52 to 37 in the polls.
Oh, we love Colin Allred.
We do, and that's encouraging.
Okay. Not so encouraging are the charges against fashion designer Ricardo Tisci.
Are they worse than Sean Diddy Combs?
Well, he's accused of drugging a guy's drink at a bar and
the guy's name is
home.
Patrick Cooper. He's open about it, a bisexual guy.
Yeah. Tisci denies the charges.
He does, and we talked about David Souter at length and that.
I think it's time for the Pope.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Pope. New Pope, Cardinal Robert Prevost, is now Pope Leo XIV. And people immediately accepted his new name, unlike transgender people. Now, I have to say, look, we know a lot about this guy. His opening message was, God loves us, God loves you all, and evil will not prevail. Now that concerns me, and of course I don't want evil to prevail, but you're still defining homosexuality as evil.
Well, we don't know that for sure.
No, we know that
church,
that's Catholic
doctrine.
Well, this is the church that he's the head of.
All right, so, there's some confusion about his current thinking. You're right about the church, of course. In 2012, he said, popular culture fosters sympathy for beliefs and practices that are at odds with the gospel. And that was specifically about homosexual lifestyles, alternative families composed of same-sex partners, and adopted children.
Yeah, so he says, you see this on TV with gay couples in an ad and thing, and it normalizes it. And then when we come out with the truth, which is that it's evil, he didn't say that, but I mean, it's like, then we're seen as the bad guys.
When he was in Peru, he lobbied against a government plan to teach gender issues in schools. He called it confusing. Seeking to create genders that don't exist. But all of that was 13 years ago. So
well,
the question
let's go more recent, okay?
I do want more recent.
All right, because like, you know, when the Pope Francis did the whole thing about you can bless same-sex couples.
Yes.
Well, of course, you can bless anything. He says you can't bless them if they're getting married. You can just bless them as people. So anyway, he said the bishops in the Episcopal conferences of Africa are basically saying, here in Africa, our cultural reality is different. This is quoting the new Pope. He said, and you have to remember there are still places in Africa that apply the death penalty to it, for example, for people in a homosexual relationship. So we're living in very different worlds. How about saying that's wrong? That's wrong to have the death penalty. I mean, even Francis said, get rid of all criminalization of homosexuality.
I thought, when did, and said that about the Episcopal Church?
No, the Episcopal Conference of Africa of the Catholic Church.
Oh.
That's what he meant. I'm sorry.
This religious stuff is confusing.
But in what world is the death?
When did he say that?
You wanted 2024.
Okay. I stand corrected. I thought he was agreeing with Francis about blessing same-sex couples.
Except you gotta be sensitive to the people who have the death penalty for it, you know, because it's a very different world.
All right.
Instead of being a moral leader and saying we have to be at the forefront of not having the death penalty for homosexuality. But give him, you know, listen, at least we learned that he's, got black roots, you know, I'm not talking about
Creole, Haitian.
Creole, etc.
He's the first black pope.
He is. Although his brothers seem to be unaware of this.
Hello.
His brothers in Chicago.
Yeah.
What else?
In the UK.
And the survivors groups of abuse,
Yes.
they are not happy. And they go over his record both in Peru and in Chicago, and outline
he hasn't done enough.
How he
has concealed priests who have sexually abused.
Right, but we
kids.
give him credit for criticizing J.D. Vance, a recent convert to Catholicism, for Vance's insistence that there are hierarchies of people that we should love.
Well,
so look, he's going to continue to look. He's going to be careful. I don't expect him to call us, bad names. He's going to speak out for migrants and the environment and the poor, and where everybody's welcome and all this kind of stuff. But we're going to remain the sin, and all those other things, war, treating migrants terrible. They are not listed as sins, and they should be if you want to be consistent.
I do wonder whether there was some urge to pick him as the first American pope to go up against Trump and Vance.
He's the most un-American American you could pick.
Yeah, but he's perceived as...
Well, let me tell you, I posted this. You remember Cardinal Burke, the guy who likes to dress up? He's very right-wing, a horrible guy, and he Francis demoted him. Prevost, Pope Leo XIV, had a secret meeting with Burke just a couple of days before the conclave. I'm going to be okay. Don't worry about it. And the conservatives are now, there's an article today, they're pretty happy about this appointment. They see it as a move, at least back to the center, although, none of these people are left-wing.
Well, I thought Trump might take credit for his election, first American, but instead it's Dolan who's taking credit for his election.
God, Dolan. I'm sure. Well, conservatives are not unhappy, is my point.
I hear you.
Although, they had another candidate. They wanted the guy from Hungary, for God's sakes. All right. The Labour Party in the United Kingdom, a Labour councillor, Dylan Tippett, has said that the party has thrown transgender people on the bus and they're moving us backwards.
He's transgender, and he's a city councilor from Plymouth, and he is going to redefine himself as independent till the end of his term, at which point he is going to resign.
And then because of this really horrible decision by the High Court in the United Kingdom, which said, well, the Equalities Act, that's for biological women and biological men, and transgender people aren't covered. We don't want you to be mean to them, but they're not covered. So 400 actors, filmmakers, we got a picture of 3 of them. The 3 we are picturing there are, where is it? Boom, 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 boom.
Well, in the middle is Nicola Coughlan and Eddie
Bella
Redmayne.
Ramsey, Nicola Coughlan, and Eddie Redmayne.
Yes.
But there's 400 of them signed this letter saying the film industry, the television industry, they all need to protect trans and intersex people within the industry.
Well, at the BAFTA Film Awards a few months ago, Zoe Saldana, winning the Supporting Actress Award for Emilia Perez, gave a very emotional speech about her dedicating her award to her trans nephew, which was impressive.
Very much so, very much so.
All right.
Okay.
AIDS and health news.
Yes.
Well, we have a new Surgeon General.
Nominee.
Yes.
This is Casey Means, who is
Doctor.
but didn't finish her residency.
No, she did not.
Now, this is weird because the far right, like Laura Loomer, they don't like her. And they're saying she's nutty, because she writes these crazy books and things like that.
Yep.
But what they're really upset about is she's anti-vaccine, but she's not anti-vaccine enough. That's their point.
They're always moving the goalposts, aren't they?
Her brother already works for RFK Jr. They're part of the Make America Healthy group, thing under Kennedy. And again, some of the ideas are fine, of course. Get rid of processed foods and eat better and don't be so
Swim in
fat,
polluted creeks.
whatever.
All right. And did you go to this?
I did. Maybe Tom Stoddard was the executive director. There he is on the right, as he is dying of AIDS. He died in 1997. They talked about the fact that, the drugs they came, but they kind of came too late for him. And that's with his partner, Walter Riker. I want to make sure I get his name right. Ryman, R-E-I-M-A-N, Walter Ryman. And we got a picture of them all on the bench that was dedicated to them at the AIDS Memorial. So there's Kevin Jennings, who's the head of Lambda now, Richard Burns in the middle, and Walter Ryman there on a bench. You can go visit it at 12th Street and 7th Avenue, dedicated to Tom, who was, a great lawyer for us, did a lot of great work. I kept asking people, what do you think he'd think about today? They'd say, he'd be angry. And I'm thinking, Tom was very kind of buttoned down, but he was capable of that when he got, really pissed off.
But he was a leading figure in the movement when he was there at Lambda. And he used to get quoted in the New York Times all the time.
Oh, yes.
And
he was our spokesperson. He would go on Nightline.
Well, yes. And I ran into Jeffrey Schwartz once, who was the New York Times reporter who died of AIDS, who used to quote Tom all the time. And I said to Jeffrey, Jeff, why do you always quote Tom Stoddard? There are other people. And he said, but he's a friend of mine.
Oh, my God. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay.
That tells you everything you need to know about journalism. This Sunday in New York City, there will be the AIDS Walk run by GMHC. How many years? Oh my God!
Forever, and it turns out tens of thousands of people to raise money not just for the gay men's health crisis, but for other AIDS organizations.
And they do a terrific job with this walk. I think the weather's going to be good.
And that's the picture of the guy who runs it, Jonathan Mallow, who is now
the new CEO of GMHC. He's the former board chair. This is a very common a dynamic within
that's
these
how
organizations.
Colombia got their new president.
Yes, I've seen it happen a lot. Someone's on the board, and for some reason there's turnover among with the executive director or CEO or whatever, and the board chair steps in to run the organization.
As you know, this is the self-perpetuating hierarchy, which is how they pick a pope. The pope picks 100 guys who he likes, and they pick the next pope.
Now, we don't know Jonathan Mallow. I don't
know. No,
anyway.
I don't know. No.
It could be great. He is a media guy. He worked at Viacom, at TED Talks. He worked at the Maysles Documentary Center in Harlem.
That?
He's on the board of that. Yeah, I've been up there.
The Maysles wanted to do a documentary about Anne doing her work in the schools. Well, Patrick Martin got nervous about that.
Yes, always nervous.
All right.
Entertainment news?
Well, there's a new documentary coming out about Sally Ride, the astronaut.
My hero.
Who was passed away. And it's coming out on June 16th on National Geographic, and then it'll be on Hulu?
Hulu and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's called Sally. She died in 2012. Can you believe it's been 13 years since she died?
Time flies when you're getting old.
Pancreatic cancer. And it was after she died that we learned that she had a longtime partner, Tam O'Shaughnessy, who is prominently featured in this documentary.
Is that a picture of them together?
It is, and it's Tam on the left and Sally on the right. Sally just was the epitome of courage, being the first woman in space. And
she was a DEI hire?
I thought...
She was wonderful.
She's one of the few people, I would say, her coming out in death was understandable.
Barbara Jordan?
Not so much.
Okay.
All right. I'm also looking forward to the production of a series on Apple Plus TV on Siegfried and Roy, played by Jude Law and Andrew Garfield.
Oh, my God.
It's called Wild Things.
Wow.
In production now. We will certainly let you know when it's going to air.
Wow, that sounds fascinating.
Wild. Okay. Congratulations to the WNBA basketball stars Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley, who... Well, that's their marriage picture from 2018.
Yes, that's not how they dress on the court.
This is the picture of them with their new baby, who is almost concealed by that cute dog. They kept their relationship a secret for 5 years, and now they're totally out and showing the baby and the dog.
Okay. Well, what a week it has been.
Yes, it has.
I'm worn out.
And we're going to end the show with some video of the Brighton Beach Pride Parade from last weekend. We enjoyed it. Congratulations to them for doing it. And
do it in your own town.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.